Our next speaker is Shaykh Rehan Al-Azri. He's an Islamic scholar who's been very active against the campaign against extremism and terrorism. And I'm going to hand it over to Shaykh Rehan.
Jazakallah khair. Allah's name I begin, the most merciful and ever compassionate. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "A Muslim is he from whose hand and tongue other people remain safe from." In other words, a Muslim is he who is a source of peace, source of love, and source of compassion. And these terrorists who carry out acts of extremism and terrorism and atrocities do not represent Muslims. We strongly condemn the acts of brutality and terrorism which has left the whole world shocked. Our condolences go out to the family members whose loved ones have been a victim to such heinous crimes, and we hope the perpetrators are brought to justice. This is the time to unite as a community and defeat these terrorists who have plagued the human society and threatened global peace. We will not allow our faith to be hijacked by a handful of terrorists who carry out atrocities in the name of Islam. We will continue to ideologically and intellectually challenge the cancerous ideology of terrorists in order to reclaim our faith from them. Terrorism is a crime against humanity, and terrorism has no religion, and it should not be linked to any faith, let alone Islam. When acts of terrorism takes place, it has 5 other crimes contained within it: crime against the Creator, crime against humanity, crime against those it's directed towards, the victims, crime against the perpetrator himself, and crime against the community which he belongs to. We reject unequivocally all terrorism because at the heart of our religions is a belief in the sanctity of lives of the innocent. The indiscriminate nature of terrorism, which has in recent years killed far more civilians and other non-combatants than it has combatants, is un-Islamic, un-Judaic, un-Christian, and indeed incompatible with the true teachings of all faiths. Because of its manifestly indiscriminate and therefore murderous nature, we condemn all terrorism in all forms, in all countries, regardless of any claimed religious and political intentions. We unequivocally reject, disown, and condemn all terrorism committed in the name of Islam, just as we reject and condemn all terrorism committed in the name of other religion or causes. Terrorism is never a legitimate means, or it's always a cowardly act of indiscriminate murder. Therefore, to comprehend the faith of Islam, reliance should be upon the fundamental sources of Islam interpreted by reliable and qualified Muslim scholars rather than unqualified who hold no credentials to speak on Islam. When unqualified people are taken as authorities on Islam, this generates intellectual dissension, which leads to innocent people to distrust Muslims. The best way forward is to educate each other on the true values of our faith and not let a handful of extremists from both sides destroy the healthy fabric of the society we live in and stop us from contributing to world peace and human civilization. Finally, I would like to say that the backdoor diplomacy of the West in arming nations and rebel groups has had a detrimental impact on the Western society and its relations with other countries. The continuous global conflicts, violation of international law, and acts of war crimes has actually facilitated the process of recruitment of young Muslims by extremist groups. What happens in Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, Kashmir, and Palestine today is likely to have a backlash in these countries who have failed to provide a peaceful solution to the conflicts. However, I strongly believe that a change in foreign policy which is based on humanitarian principles and proportionate will surely have an impact on dealing with radicalization. And as I mentioned earlier on, that these people have been numerously, if you look at all the terrorist attacks that have taken place in Europe or in the UK, the first thing we hear that these people were known to the authorities. And unfortunately, the failure has come from the security forces who have failed to protect the British society. The Muslim community have continuously reported these individuals to the authorities, but unfortunately the security forces have failed. So therefore, once again, I would like to reiterate that if you to study all the terrorist attacks that have taken place and read the tribunal reports of those people who have been tried in the courts, their motive to carry out acts of terrorism has never been the religion of Islam, has never been the faith of Islam. They always mention the atrocities that have been carried out in other countries like Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, and Palestine, even though there is no justification for terrorism. But I would request the British government to revisit their foreign policy and counter-terrorism strategy so that we can live in a safe society and protect our children and our society. Thank you very much.